Imagine a golden ticket that lets you come and go between countries as you please.
Gold card.
Gold card.
Gold card.
Pay lower taxes, avoid political instability, have a plan B, and you don't even need to move abroad. Now, as the name implies, golden visas are not cheap, and they're not without their controversy.
Corruption at the highest level.
Willing to sell Cypriot passports to convicted criminals.
But what exactly is a golden visa? What are the requirements? Which countries offer it? And how can you get one? A golden visa is a residency by investment program that grants foreign investors and their families the right to live, work, or study in another country in exchange for a significant financial investment. These visas are typically offered by countries seeking to attract wealthy individuals who can boost their economies. Yes, that includes Trump's gold card.
He's selling memberships to a country club, but this club is actually our country.
The United States has actually had a golden visa for years, although it's not explicitly called a golden visa. And this gold card is actually much harder to get than the already existing EB-5 Immigrant Investor Green Card. But I'll get back to the gold card later on in the video. Immigrant investor programs have been around since 1984. St. Kitts and Nevis, a small country made up of 2 islands in the Caribbean, and fun fact, birthplace of Alexander Hamilton, was the first place to offer these types of visas after becoming independent from Britain in 1983. The country was strapped for cash and doesn't have many natural resources, but as part of the British Commonwealth, what they do have is a strong passport. It offers visa-free entry to 156 countries. And a country can basically give citizenship to anybody it wants, like when New Zealand gave citizenship to PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel in 2011, and France gave citizenship to Snapchat creator Evan Spiegel in 2018 for their significant contributions to the countries, whatever those were. So 40 years ago, St. Kitts and Nevis began selling their passports, and nowadays citizenship by investment makes up 40% of the country's GDP. Since then, similar programs have been created in more than 20 other countries. But there's a distinction between citizenship by investment programs, or golden passports, and residency by investment programs, golden visas. Some countries, like China, India, and Japan, don't allow their citizens to be citizens anywhere else in the world, what is called dual citizenship. So if you're a citizen of one of those countries, you have to revoke your citizenship to get another passport. That makes citizenship by investment a much bigger challenge, whereas residency by investment is a possibility. Residency by investment gives you the right to live and work in another country without having to revoke your citizenship, and it oftentimes can lead to citizenship further down the line. Portugal has a golden visa. The UAE has a golden visa. Spain, Thailand, Australia, Canada, the list goes on. Now, I'll tell you all the countries that have these type of programs and their specific requirements later on in the video, but first, what are the benefits of having a golden visa or a golden passport? This is Amar Kandil, a founding member of one of the biggest YouTube channels in the world, Yes Theory. He's interviewed Justin Trudeau, bungee jumped from a helicopter over the Grand Canyon with Will Smith, yes, I read that right, and directed an award-winning documentary about the first man to complete an Ironman in Antarctica. But in 2021, Amar had a problem. You see, Yes Theory tells stories from around the world by inserting its charismatic hosts into some of the most remote and exclusive countries on Earth. Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, and Belarus, just to name a few. But while Amar's castmates have passports that look like this, giving them visa-free access to all of these countries, Amar had a passport that looked like this, which means he only had access to these countries.
I need to prove 1,000 things just so that I can move, just so I can go anywhere. And it's always such a condescending attitude.
If you don't have a strong passport and you've ever tried to travel abroad, you've probably felt like you're not welcome in other countries. I'll admit that I'm lucky as an American and that I have a strong passport, but I've been met with these attitudes just trying to get residency here in Mexico. And for my wife who's Mexican, every time we travel to the United States, we have to prove that we're a legitimate couple and she won't overstay her visa. For some people, a golden visa can literally open up the world to them. To solve his problem, Amar bought citizenship in St. Kitts and Nevis, and just like that, traveling outside the United States where he was a resident, something that was once a nightmare for him, became, well,
Best airport experience of my life. Yeah.
But a golden visa isn't just about a passport. It can be a strategic financial move. Meet Tavit Henriques, Skype's first employee. Remember when we used to all use Skype? He started working for the company in 2002 in Tallinn, Estonia, the capital of his birth country and where Skype was founded. Eventually, as Skype grew, Henriques was transferred to the company's London office, but he was still on the payroll in Estonia. So every month he had to transfer his money from his bank in Estonia to London.
I go to the bank in London and I take my statement.
I look at the statement and whoa, and I realized that a bunch of the money went missing.
He was getting ripped off on high bank fees and terrible exchange rates every time he had to transfer his paycheck, which was paid in euros, to British pounds, which he used to pay his rent. That was until he met Kristo Carmen, another Estonian living in London. Carmen had the opposite problem. He needed to transfer his pounds to euros to pay for his mortgage back home in Estonia. So the two devised a plan to transfer money between their accounts. Henriques sent euros to Carmen's account in Estonia, and Carmen sent pounds to Henriques' account in London. No bank fees and mid-market exchange rates. This was how they developed the idea for their company, TransferWise, now known as Wise. Henriques and Carmen went on to become Estonia's first billionaires, and Wise now transfers money between 160 countries and 40 currencies. So why am I telling you this? No, this isn't an ad for Wise, but if anyone from Wise is watching, let's connect. I would love to work together. The reason I told you that story is because another form of investment that can get you a golden visa is by investing in a business. Even though Henriques and Carmen are Estonian, they launched their business in London to reach a bigger market, and they became a global success.
Great success.
The UK's startup-friendly regulations allowed them to operate and grow faster compared to Estonia. London's financial ecosystem gave them access to early-stage investors who helped scale the company. They were also able to build a diverse team by hiring from London's global fintech talent pool. Many countries such as the United States, the United Arab Emirates, and Singapore offer these types of programs to get investors to go and start their companies there. And they also offer major tax breaks. But let's say you're not interested in building right now, and instead you want to make your money work for you. Let me ask you this. What do Warren Buffett, Robert De Niro, and Bill Gates all have in common? Besides being extremely wealthy, they all have foreign investment properties. Many golden visa programs offer investment in real estate to gain access. Now, this is really a win-win. The country gets a substantial investment into its economy, and you get an appreciating asset which can make you money for years. You can generate rental income from your property overseas, and if the market goes bust in your home country, you still have that investment. Now, the cost of real estate can vary from $200,000 to $2 million. Usually, you don't even have to live in the property to get residency, and you can continually renew the visa as long as you maintain the property. Personally, I'm nowhere near being able to afford this option, but I can see the appeal. For essentially the same price as buying a house in the suburbs in the United States, you could buy an apartment in Budapest, which can give you access to the complete EU. Now, there are some caveats, like you have to prove the money is yours, and you have to prove that you got it legally, and you can't pay for the real estate with a mortgage. However, if your purchase exceeds the country's minimum requirement, you can pay the minimum up front and then finance the rest. Now, if it's a joint investment, all parties must pay the minimum to obtain residency. But this option has stirred some controversy recently because foreign investors have driven up real estate prices in cities like Barcelona, Athens, and Lisbon. So housing there has become less affordable to locals. As a result, many countries like Spain and Portugal have begun to close their residency by property investment programs due to pressure within the EU. Now, if real estate's not your thing, there's also countries that offer lower risk investments, such as government bonds or capital transfers. The benefit of investing in government bonds is that you're buying debt instead of equity. And debt holders have priority over shareholders, meaning you'll be first in line to get paid. Although the returns are generally slower than other investments, it's government-backed and almost risk-free. This option is perfect for those who come from a politically unstable country and they want to ensure a plan B for their family in the future. Now, you can also invest directly into the economy of certain countries just by transferring money directly into a bank. You can also donate to a national development fund to support infrastructure, research, or social projects. No need to start a business or manage a property, just a quick deposit. Okay, so now that we talked about all the benefits of golden visas and golden passports, which countries offer them, and how can you get one? By the way, if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing and hitting the like button. It's completely free, and I would really appreciate it. So, one of the easiest ways to get a foreign passport is by paying $105,000 into the national treasury of the small nation of Nauru. This tiny, peaceful country has a super interesting story. It's the world's smallest independent republic and the third smallest country in the world. But not too long ago, it was the richest country on Earth, and it built its empire on bird shit. Just stay with me, I promise this story is worth it. You see, Nauru was once known for its phosphate reserves, which were the largest in the world when they were discovered in the early 20th century. The phosphate came from millions of years of built-up guano, fossilized bird poop. It turns out guano is a super effective fertilizer, which made selling guano a lucrative business. When Nauru became an independent nation in 1968, its citizens enjoyed some of the highest living standards in the world, but it didn't last long. By the 1980s, all of the guano was extracted, leaving a wasteland of limestone pinnacles, and Nauru's economy collapsed. The country experienced bankruptcy, unemployment, and a budget deficit. Nowadays, the country is trying to rebuild by focusing on sustainable development and diversifying its economy. Hence, citizenship through investment. A Nauru passport gives you visa-free access to Hong Kong, Ireland, Singapore, and the UK, and the country's geography gives it access to markets in both Asia and Oceania. It takes about 3 to 4 months to get citizenship, and you don't ever have to live there. But the downside of this passport is that it only gives you access to 80 countries. A much more attractive option, in my opinion, is a St. Kitts and Nevis passport or an Antigua and Barbuda passport. These both give you access to over 150 countries, but they cost twice as much. And for Antigua and Barbuda, you have to live there 5 days out of the year. But based off the photos, that doesn't sound like a bad deal. Now, in the middle of these two options is Vanuatu. I butchered that. Vanuatu. Now, in the middle of these two options is Vanuatu, which costs $130,000 for a single person or $180,000 for a family of 4. But you get $50,000 of that investment back after 5 years. So it essentially comes out to $80,000 for a single person. This passport gives you access to 100 countries. Now, if you're not looking for a passport and are instead looking for a golden visa, there's even more affordable options out there. If you have your eyes on the EU and the Schengen area, then Latvia is a great option. You can buy an estate property for 250,000 euros, transfer 280,000 euros to a Latvian bank, or invest 50,000 euros into a Latvian company, providing the business pays a minimum of 40,000 euros in taxes every year, combined with a one-off donation of 10,000 euros to the government. In Southeast Asia, Thailand has a residency by investment program, with options ranging from $18,000 to $55,000. By far the most affordable option on this list. Other options under $500,000 include Anguilla, Canada, Costa Rica, Dominica, Egypt, Greece, Grenada, Hungary, Malaysia, Mauritius, Panama, Namibia, North Macedonia, St. Lucia, and Turkey. The island of Cyprus used to have a golden visa program which involved a 300,000 euro investment in real estate, which former Google CEO Eric Schmidt actually took advantage of, but it was shut down in 2020 after it was revealed that the country was selling passports to criminals, giving them unfettered access to the European Union. Now, on the costlier side of the spectrum are programs in Austria, Hong Kong, Italy, Jordan, Malta, New Zealand, Portugal, Singapore, Switzerland, the United States, and the United Arab Emirates. If you want a nicely organized PDF with all the countries and all their requirements, I'll have that over on my Patreon. I've also launched a weekly newsletter called Borderless Bulletins. Every week, I'm going to bring together the most relevant stories for expats and digital nomads related to remote work, visas, travel, entrepreneurship, and global politics. So head over to my Patreon to check that out. I'll leave the link in the description. So the most expensive program I've seen is the Luxembourg Golden Visa program. This one requires a 20 million euro deposit into a Luxembourg bank, and it's actually due to be ended because from 2023 to 2024, there are a grand total of 6 applicants, and 4 were denied. The next most expensive I've seen is the Austrian Golden Visa program, which requires a 10 million euro investment in a business or 3 million euro investment in an Austrian government fund. And then, of course, there's Trump's gold card.
You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and we'll be able to sell maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that.
Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the United States has had a golden visa since 1990. The EB-5 Immigrant Investor Green Card was put into effect by George H.W. Bush as part of the 1990 Immigration Act. The current requirements for that visa are a minimum investment of $1.05 million in a new business or $800,000 in a qualifying infrastructure project or targeted employment area. The US issues about 10,000 of these a year. So off the bat, this gold card is 5 times as expensive, yet Trump claims that they're going to sell 100 times more of them. Sounds like bird shit to me. Sorry, I mean bullshit. Now, the Trump team says that the EB-5 visa program was filled with fraud and abuse, but while that program required an investment in a business, meaning should that business succeed, you will profit, this gold card seems like it's just a $5 million payment.
So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card.
And I want to point that out. He said green card, not citizenship, not a U.S. passport.
It's a road to citizenship for people.
A road to citizenship, but not citizenship. So it's a $5 million fee, essentially, and you won't get citizenship, but you will be paying US taxes.
They'll pay full taxes like everybody else.
Although that's not entirely true.
They won't have to pay any tax on income outside of the United States.
The US is one of the only countries in the world that taxes its citizens on global income. So if you make money outside of the US, you still have to pay federal income taxes on that money. So essentially, these gold card visa holders would have a privilege that US citizens don't even have. Also, just a side note, but it seems a bit like a double standard that the guy who built his campaign on kicking out immigrants and lowering taxes is now touting this new program that taxes immigrants. But anyways, let me know what you think of this gold card in the comments down below. Do you think it's worth it? Overall, golden visas seem like a worthwhile investment for those who can afford it. It offers a win-win solution to global citizens who want to expand their opportunities. Bigger countries get wealthy investors coming to their countries, and smaller countries in need of some help, like Nauru, get the economic support that they need. But critics argue that these programs give an unfair advantage to wealthy immigrants over people who just go through the standard immigration process. And they also inflate real estate prices for the locals. Some programs have also been linked to money laundering, tax evasion, and security risks. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you interested in getting one of these visas? Do you think it's fair that wealthy immigrants who can afford these visas get to cut the line? Should these programs exist? Now, one country that you may have noticed I didn't talk about was Japan. But Japan does have what's called a business manager visa or startup visa for people who want to bring or build their business in Japan. To learn more about those visas, as well as other Japanese visas, check out this video. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you over there.